You want to know why the Cincinnati Reds went and got a Eugenio Suarez? That's why the Cincinnati Reds went and got a Eugenio Suarez.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Jeff. He's Steve. And today's Locked On Reds podcast has so much for you. Later on, we're going to talk about the pitching because there was some good and there was some bad over the weekend for your Red Legs. In just a few minutes, we are going to look at a couple of dudes that are going to be important as the season moves along for a couple of different reasons, because Spencer Steer's versatility and Dane Myers' overall just awesomeness looks like they are going to be very important. But we will begin with a Eugenio Suarez and a little bit of Sal Stewart as well. But Gino showed us on Sunday why he was signed, because they didn't bring him in here to hit 500. They didn't bring him in here to win a Gold Glove. Steve, Eugenio Suarez was brought in to mash dingers, and he did that on Sunday, and that's why they won.
There's a great softball gif that floats around out there, and it's a girl getting ready to go into an at bat, and she lifts up her shirt, and she's got a t-shirt on underneath that says, "Just hit dingers." Gino needs that shirt. This is why he is here. He is here to hit the long ball. There are going to be games like on opening day where he goes or where he gets an offer, or he's going to leave runners in scoring position. He's going to strike out. Those games are going to happen. And then there's going to be games like yesterday where Eugenio Suarez, with one swing of the bat, wins the game for the Cincinnati Reds. That was all Gino. All three runs came on that bomb, and they won the game. That's why the Reds needed a right-handed power-hitting player in this lineup. That's why the Reds went and got Eugenio Suarez, because he can do things like that. And he's going to do that a lot more this year. I'm excited. I know everybody was already kind of picking at him a little bit for the first two games, but home runs will come. They will come in bunches. It will get warm in Cincinnati, and he just might hit one over the stadium in left field. I mean, he absolutely destroyed that baseball.
It was a tank of a hit on a day that, I mean, it wasn't cold, but it also wasn't the typical summer day that hits like that happen at Great American Ballpark. No, you're right. Like, this is exactly what the Reds expect from him, because in a game like this where the Reds pitching was doing its job, and we'll really dive into a lot of the pitching exploits later on in today's show, but it was doing its job. They held the Red Sox to 2 runs. But the problem was the Red Sox pitching staff was keeping everything very spread out. If you got a hit or if you got a walk, there really wasn't anything that was coming after that. And the whole deal last year, all we heard was, well, the Reds got to string hits together. Well, some pitching staffs are really good at not letting you do that. And so you need a guy that with one swing can change the game. The Reds didn't have that last year. They have it this year. This team's going to be so dangerous because of Gino, because of what he does, because they're going to be able to do the whole string stuff together thing. And then when they can't do that, Gino's going to step up there and just hit a tank. I mean, he was like inches away from hitting a solo bomb earlier in the game, and that was caught by Jarren Duran up against the wall in straightaway center field. And because the way that the wind was blowing like right to left, there was a lot of folks that thought, honestly, that probably was a home run, but the wind kind of killed it a little bit. So he was just like, let's make sure Mother Nature can't do nothing about this one. And he absolutely blasted that 3-run homer out of here.
Can I tell you how exciting it is also to have John say that tank home run calls back in our lives? I missed baseball, buddy. Yes. I am so glad that the regular season is here. I saw an interesting comment in the comment section maybe a few weeks back, and it went something to the effect of, man, sure is funny how Chris Faleka has changed his tune with the hitting this year. He's talking about home runs and hitting bombs. And last year it was like to your example, stringing hits together. And I'm like, he didn't have a home run hitter to talk about last year. Why would he have talked about hitting home runs? Right. Who was going to do it? Not Ellie. He was broken. Not anybody else. Everyone was hurt. Now he can talk about home runs because they got a legit bomb hitter in Eugenio Suarez. Jeff, I am excited to have Gino back in this lineup. I'm excited to get these kind of games that really validate. Basically, it does two things. It validates what folks like you and I have been saying for 3 or 4 off seasons now, that this is really what this team truly lacked. And also makes me want to, reach out to Nick Kroll and be like, dude, you should not have waited this long, but I'm glad to have him here. It wasn't just Gino though. Gino this yesterday kind of single-handedly got this done for the Reds, hit a 3-run bomb. The Reds win 3-2. But let's talk about Sal Stewart for a few minutes, because the rookie is doing things and he is clearly fired up and ready to play some baseball.
Gino did it on Sunday. Sal has been the guy that's kind of been inner workings on all 3 games. I get it that the Reds didn't score any runs on opening day, but Sal had 3 hits that day. Sal had 2 hits yesterday, and Sal had a couple of hits on Saturday. Am I getting the math right on that one? I think I am.
2 for 2. He was 2 for 2.
Yeah, because he's absolutely going insane. He was on base 4 times on Sunday. We're looking at a dude right now that really feels as though he's been here forever. He's not. He has 1 month of playing time coming in to 2026. But if you were to watch him, and if other teams like show up and they watch a Reds game and, oh, hey, here's this dude, Sal Stewart, in the middle of the lineup, they're like, how many years of, not. Because he's just that young. But he absolutely has this approach to the game that you just watch him. There's never any moment that's too big. He had multiple hits off of arguably the best pitcher in baseball on opening day. He had multiple moments where it kind of felt like on Saturday and on Sunday, the pitchers for the Red Sox were testing him, where they weren't throwing anything near hittable. They weren't throwing anything in the zone. They're like, we want you to chase this. And he was like, I'm just going to go down to first. I'll see you on first base. I'll take my base. Thank you very much. Because not only is he hitting 700 right now, Steve, but his OPS is over 2,000. And last I checked, he hadn't hit a home run. It's all been about that. Or no, he has hit 1 home run. Sorry, the 1 home run. It's not as if he's hit like 6 home runs here. It's been doubles, and it's been getting on base.
You know, the announcing crews have been doing that thing that they do early in baseball seasons where they just have to find things to fill the air and find things to talk about early in the season. So there's been a whole lot of Sal's the first player in Reds history to do this 4 times in a row or do that 5 times in a row. But, you know, you hit on a really key point that we should probably talk about for a second. And that is just the understanding of the strike zone, the understanding of the batter's box that Sal Stewart has. He does not look like a guy that only has 1 more month of playing time than me and you. He looks like a guy that has been doing this for a long, long time. He clearly has a feel for the strike zone. And I know he works out a lot in the offseason with Manny Machado and does things. I know that he spent last offseason really getting himself in shape and really working on himself. And clearly he is just reaping all the rewards of the work that went in to the offseason before this season started.
And if you want to know anything about Nick Castellanos, it's the fact that this was the compensation pick that the Reds got from Nick Castellanos signing with the Phillies. It was the compensation pick that chose Sal Stewart. And that's why he's here, is because of that compensatory pick. No, I love watching Sal Stewart play. And we thought that it would be a little early to put him in the cleanup spot. Steve, he might be making a spot to get more at bats. Maybe he hits second. I don't know. Matt McClain's looking pretty good right now. And
that Terry Francona, he's a manager, man. He knew what was up.
It was a very managerial decision.
It was a very managerial decision. Look, we give Tito grief when Tito deserves grief, and he deserves a lot of credit for being open to having Sal Stewart back cleanup. He deserves a lot of credit for being willing to give Sal time to play into it in spring training. And he deserves credit for pulling the trigger on opening day, because not every manager would have done that. So as much as we'll get on Tito when he needs to be got on, I give him a hat tip for getting this done and having Sal Stewart in exactly the right place right now.
100% agree with that. Although there is something about Tito that we have some questions about, and it regards one guy that we think is going to be very valuable for the Reds moving forward in this season. We'll ask that question next.
It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is, well, a lot. Trying to book an appointment that is not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locales nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment.
Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day. You got to check out the Locked On Reds Everyday Club. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com. By the way, put in the promo code FINALLY to get a free month on us of the Locked On Reds Everyday Club. The link is in the description down below. Again, that's lockedonreds.supercast.com. Great Steve, there's plenty of performances this weekend outside of Gino and Sal that were really encouraging. And I want to get to the Spencer Steer of it all here in just a minute. But I had an interesting question, at least from the first couple of games, because it's clear that the Reds understood things are starting to change in TJ Friedl's career. Maybe he needs some time away from center field. He doesn't have to play 162 games out there, and he's starting to struggle with left-handed hitters. So that's why they went and they traded for Dane Myers. Except for the first two games of the season, it kind of seemed like they forgot they had Dane Myers. And they were able to put him in the game late on Saturday, and he came up clutch with a big hit in the 11th inning to give them the win on Saturday. And then they started him in center field on Sunday. But, Steve, it felt like for a minute, as much as we praised Terry Francona for doing what he did with Sal Stewart, that Terry Francona was just like, I don't know, man. I feel like TJ Friedl could probably do this everyday thing again.
And then not only did that go down, but then when Tito did remember that he had Dane Meyers, he used him completely against the way that the numbers say that he should have used him. That walk-off hit was against a right-handed pitcher. And Dane Meyers does not hit right-handed pitching. He hits lefties excellent. He does not hit righties. And yet there he was, and then he walks it off. I think they'll get into a groove. I think some of this is probably muscle memory for Tito. I think some of this is show the veteran that's given the team a little bit of respect in the opening homestand of the season and get him in there and kind of do the things. But as the season progresses, I fully expect more and more TJ will drift more towards a platoon. I don't think it'll be a straight platoon, and we'll see things like we saw yesterday with excellent usage of players in multiple positions and moving guys around. Absolutely great usage of those guys. But I think we'll get closer to a platoon where if it's a left-hander on the mound, we'll see Dane Meyers in center field, and he'll get a lot of those starts because his splits say he should have a lot of those starts.
I was actually talking with, we have a couple of new guys that are taking over Locked On Marlins, and I was talking with them a little bit about Dane Meyers, and they're like, we were kind of sad to see him go because that dude has a motor like you wouldn't believe. He just constantly goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, which I find is intriguing because that's basically how we've always described TJ Friedl. And so it's like they got a TJ Friedl that can hit lefties like crazy in Dane Meyers. But I really want to see more from him. And one of the biggest reasons that I love what he brings to the table is the fact that he fields so well, but his arm is legitimate. That is something that everybody across the board, when they've ever watched him, has said, this dude has got a cannon. And I think that that's going to be something to watch for the Reds when, you know, he's fielding something from center field. The Reds have not had that guy in the outfield in years past that can throw somebody out, especially when they go to play the Brewers and teams like that really know them, the division rivals. And when the Pirates come to town starting here tonight, they know this team. They've grown up with this team the last couple of years, and so they have a feeling about what they can and can't do. Dane Meyers is going to change that. And I think there's going to be some plays that he makes there. But Dane Meyers isn't the only guy that I'm feeling really good about his ability to contribute to a Reds division championship. Sal Stewart. I keep saying Sal Stewart. Spencer Steer has shown the versatility.
You don't even remember
really
the mashed potato guy's name. You're all discombobulated.
He's so ingrained into the just fiber of this team, and he is so important to it that he blends in so super well. It's all part of it. But literally, you ask Spencer Steer to play left field. You ask Spencer Steer to play first base. You ask Spencer Steer to play third base. You ask Spencer Steer to distribute beer throughout the stadium. And I'm pretty sure he'd be pretty good at that too. He just does everything for this team, and he is going to be so key to it for the rest of this year.
Yeah, a couple things about Spencer Steer on Saturday's game. Spencer Steer played a big part in the Reds winning that game, and not from some big offensive play. Although that ball he hit should have been a walk-off. If he hits that same ball in June, that's a home run at Great American Ballpark. No question in my mind. But because Spencer Steer was willing to move from left to first and then from first to third, and in fact, Terry Francona went to Spencer and was like, hey, how do you feel about, he's like, I got it. I'm fine. No, really. How do you, no, Skip, I got it. I'm fine. And that allowed everything else to fall into place. Spencer Steer and his versatility are going to be such an advantage for the Reds throughout the season, because it's going to let Terry Francona make extra in-game moves that he might not necessarily be able to make if he didn't have a guy that could move all over the place and fill those positions. And Spencer Steer was that. Now, I know he had a bit of a base running gaffe, maybe, on Sunday. We're not quite sure what went down, but I'm talking about the play. I think Dane Myers hits into what ended up
next level gaff. Yeah, it's not a toot plan. Like, I think
Spencer took off. I don't know that he knew the tag was applied. I don't know if the first base coach was yelling something to let him know. Right. First base, Calgill's not over there right now. This is a new situation at first base.
Napoli's over there. Yep.
Napoli's over there right now. I don't know how he does things at first base. I believe that if Calgill had been over there, he'd have been yelling at Spencer Steer, because what should have happened there, Spencer Steer should have gotten into a rundown and either given Sal Stewart time to score from third base or allowed Sal Stewart time to bluff the run to home where that would have drawn the throw, and then let Spencer Steer go to second base, not ending up in a double play. The Red Sox TV crew called Spencer Steer out a little bit, and we're like, oh, he's got to get in a run down there, get some runs on the board. That, basically calling him out. And I'm like, well, we don't exactly know how that went down, but by and large, Spencer Steer, even when it's not a big offensive play, a big something, he's going to contribute to this team and be, we've talked about Matt McLain maybe getting the C on his chest someday, or at least acting like that. I know you have some thoughts about Sal Stewart maybe playing his way into that role, maybe already angling that way a little bit, just with some leadership qualities. But I think Spencer Steer is going to forever be the kind of guy like Joey Votto was for a lot of years before he really let his personality out, where Joey just did things behind the scenes, and he went to guys in the clubhouse and he went to guys in the batting cage and helped them, and just was a quiet leader that didn't really show it out on the field, that didn't demonstrate that, that vocal leadership, but was always leading. I think that's Spencer Steer.
Well, I think, to correct you just a smidge, I think he showed it through his play. I don't think he was a rah guy. Like, he wasn't going to come in and be like,
that's what I mean. He wasn't a vocal leader.
Lead by example. Lead by example is what he is, and that's who Spencer Steer is. He's if there's a captain, it'll be Matt McLain, and then the secret captain will be Spencer Steer, without a doubt. But yeah, like, there was a little bit of angling I thought I saw from Sal Stewart, because there were some angles of this play that we're talking about that showed that as Sal was going to third base, he was trying to get Spencer's attention to be like, yo, dude, get in a rundown and then I can score, because without the force, it's just about who tags who, when, and all this other stuff. That if Sal crosses home plate before the force is applied, or before the tag is applied, then you get that run. And so that is kind of where he was trying to angle this and direct Spencer and be like, okay, look, if you can do this, then we get this run and we cut the deficit in half just by angling this running play just a little bit more and you getting caught in a pickle here. But that's kind of where that next level came from. So I kind of understood Boston's, their broadcast like angle on this, but at the end of the day, like, it kind of made sense as to how it all happened. It was a crazy play in general. Like, they were talking about on the radio broadcast that had Wilson Contreras not been holding Spencer Steer to first base, then the hit from Dane Myers would have just rolled into the corner because the typical position of the first baseman was not where Contreras was. And so there's a lot that was like this, that, and the other, and it led to a double play instead of a run score.
The moral of the story, Jeff, is you should always use the force. But coming up, we're going to get off of the position player side of things and start talking a little bit about the pitchers, because even though the longevity of the outings aren't there, there have been some good outings, and it's been some quality stuff from guys that we haven't seen in a while. We're talking pitching coming up next.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge every day in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission and merchant and swap firm.
You did that read like William Shatner. Thanks for watching us here on YouTube. If you can't watch us on YouTube, we are available on every single podcasting platform that's out there. If you find one we're not on and you need us there, message Jeff. He can probably make it happen for you. Also, the audio feed is where the Everydayer Club lives. Link for that is down in the show descriptions. $5 a month, $50 a year. And if you use the promo code FINALLY, you get a free month. Check out the Everydayer Club today. All right, Jeff, the pitching staff, it's been the best of times and the worst of times, because best of times we've seen Rhett Lowder back on the mound. He looked pretty good. Worst of times, Tony Santillan and Emilio Pagan have been struggling a little bit. But by and large, the pitching has been able to get out of some tough spots. Some of the guys that have always been unlucky seemingly are still unlucky. Graham Ashcraft. Other guys seem to be kind of figuring things out a little bit. But overall, for the first series of the season, I have a couple takeaways. My first takeaway is that the pitching staff may not be as ready as it was coming out of Goodyear last year. And I think injuries played a part of that. Blisters certainly played a part of that in Singer and Chase Burns' situation coming out of camp. But as far as the relievers go, they look pretty good. And Rhett Lowder yesterday, 5 innings, he allowed a couple runs, but he looked comfortable. He looked good. He looked like he had control of his pitches, and it was great to see him back out there on a big league mound. And at both broadcasts pointed out that was a 500-plus game separation from his last start and yesterday's start.
Yes, see, 500-plus day separation.
Days.
But yeah, no, you know what I mean. He looked really solid, especially the fact, he struck out Roman Anthony twice, not just once, twice. And he's really pitching well. This was the quintessential Rhett Lowder start. Lots and lots of different movements here and there. He's added this sinker that looks really well, and he really split up the number of pitches between four-seamer, sinker, and slider evenly. At least according to Baseball Savant, 28% per. He threw the four-seamer once more. Then he threw the slider or the sinker, and then he mixed in this changeup a little bit, a 4-pitch mix that really had the Red Sox guessing. And there was that play there that Elly De La Cruz wasn't able to make because it kind of olayed it a little bit. Some folks said it was a rough hop. I don't know. Not going to belabor the moment for Elly. He looked pretty good with the glove all weekend, except for that one moment. And then the very next guy was Willie Abreu, who was hot as the surface of the sun for the Red Sox lineup, and he hit another home run. It just so happened there was another guy on base. So there was one bad pitch that Rhett Lowder threw, and it was to Willie Abreu. Everything else looked good. And there was a moment where it seemed like he was losing the hitters a little bit and having to throw a lot of pitches, but he shut it down. And the moment he needed to make that right pitch, he reached back and made that right pitch. Like, overall, that was exactly what I wanted to see from him. I didn't think we'd see 6 innings. I didn't think we'd really see as much as we got. Like, I kind of thought 4, maybe 4 1/3, but I liked what I saw from Rhett Lowder in this one. And it buoyed a start on Saturday that I thought we'd see more from Brady Singer, but Brady Singer ended up throwing only 4 innings because it was clear that although everything said that he was fine and he wasn't dealing with the blister, it was clear that was not the case.
No, that finger was still bothering him. They did say on the broadcast on Saturday that there was some discussion between the trainers and Brady before the game about, I guess there was a flap of skin where that blister was, and there was some debate about cut it off, leave it there for protection. What do we do? And then you could clearly see somewhere around, I think, the 3rd inning, Brady Singer actually bite that piece of skin off and spit it out on the field. Like he made the decision himself. So clearly that finger is not 100%. It's still bothering him a little bit. And I think that was reflected in the outcome of his performance on Saturday. 4 innings, finger was bothering him. He didn't at times have true command of the strike zone. He was all over the place a couple times. And I think that was a byproduct of the finger bothering him. He's going to get there. I'm not concerned about him missing a start. I think that it will come. And he will, he'll get to a point. Rhett Lowder is going to get to a point. In fact, all these guys are getting to a point where they can give you 6, 7 innings at a time and then take some of that pressure off the bullpen in order to really take advantage of all the arms they've added out there. So it's early, and I'm trying not to overreact. But that being said, do you have any concerns in what you saw from Tony Santillan and Emilio Pagan? Because it looked to me like those 2 guys were still working some things out that didn't quite get solved in Goodyear.
Pagan less so, because I feel like I just don't know. And I know that he only did this twice, but I just don't know about relief pitchers as a whole, that the plan of, all right, you're going to come in, you're going to finish an inning, you're going to sit down, then you're going to get back up, go back out on the mound and try to give us a whole inning, how much that really works across the board, let alone specifically Pagan, who tried 2 different times last year to get a 4-out save and failed both times. And now this is the 3rd time in 2 years, and he failed that time too. So
every pitcher I've ever talked to about this, Jeff, says it is ridiculously hard to get that adrenaline level back up after you go and sit down when you're in a closer mentality. And you can not like closers, and you know how we all feel about that a little bit around here, but they say it's hard because you have that letdown when you get out of the inning and you got to spin it back up. And these guys aren't used to doing that. There's lots of pitchers in this bullpen that are used to doing that. The closer is not one of them.
Well, and to think about it too, like it's a human reaction to a different scenario where you're coming out of a bullpen, and whether it's in the middle of the inning, whether it's the start of an inning, you're running in and you're like, I'm here, I'm ready to go. And when you're coming up out of the dugout, like I'm sure relief pitchers are like, wait, oh no, you go out to your, okay, let me, yeah, okay, I'll go now. I'll walk up out of the dugout, come up off these steps and, climb up the mound and all that other stuff. It's just a different angle to things. But all in all, like I kind of wonder as a whole how ready the pitching staff was, because clearly with the whole blister situation with both Brady Singer and Nick Lodolo, which we saw at least an update that he's going to be looked at, and there's a possibility of throwing a rehab start coming up on Friday, and then that probably means that he's ready to go whenever the Reds hit the road and maybe head down to Miami and things like that. But that's just a microcosm of, well, Tony Santillan doesn't look all that good. Is it because of last year's high workload and then coming into this year and maybe he's just taking longer to get ready? Was Emilio Pagan ready to go? There's different things that you look at and you wonder how ready the pitching staff was. And that's not to say that I think that the Reds did anything completely different. It's just they weren't ready.
Do you remember back in the day, and this might be a little bit before your time, Jeff, but you remember back in the day when we used to say pitcher had dead arm, like there was just no snap on the ball. There was just no life in the pitch. That's kind of how Tony Santillan looks right now. There's just not a lot of snap there. Now, there's a lot of snap in his pickoff move. Credit to him, because that was a game changer. That was a big deal. But there doesn't seem to quite be the life right now on the pitches that he's delivering. And I think that will come also, but I think he's not quite there yet.
It's just the fastball, though. Like, the slider still looks good. The slider was just
the fastball looks flat, though. The
fastball looks.
Yep.
It is BP because it's slower. I think they said 3 to 4 miles an hour on average slower than it was last year. And that's
94 on the gun. I think I saw today.
That's the concern for me. Like, I get it. And there's a little bit of strategy to it where you can kind of take the slider that's 10 miles an hour slower and you can pair it. And as long as you're tunneling it, he's not doing that right now. And the fastball is kind of here. It's there. It's in the middle. It's everywhere. And I feel like if he runs into that with some of these guys in this Pirates lineup, that could be pretty dangerous, because as much as the Pirates didn't look all that great against the Mets this weekend, their lineup looked like it's probably going to be tough to deal with.
I was wondering if Roy Kent was going to show up in your background there for a second when you're like, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. And on that note, that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. For the audio folks, go check out the Locked On MLB feed. There's so much going on over there for the baseball loving person. Not only does Sully have you covered from a national perspective on Locked On MLB, Mike Stanton, former Reds reliever, is covering Major League Baseball from a player's perspective over in the Locked On MLB feed. And Locked On MLB Game Night is back, where those guys are watching every single game, every single night, and telling you what happened alongside all of the experts from the Locked On MLB channel to keep you in the know about what's going on in Major League Baseball. Go check that out today. For the video, folks, stick around. We're going to send you over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, where all of the experts of the Locked On network are talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jeff and I will be back in your feed tomorrow, where we will keep gathering up the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, the information, and hopefully talking about a Game 1 win against those stinking Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll be in your feeds tomorrow. Make sure you click subscribe. Until then, we'll keep you locked on Reds every single day.
And before I hit that video, I want to say congrats on completing the Lava Man, doing a triathlon, and in the same day coming here and talking Reds with me. I appreciate that. But congratulations on completing that triathlon. That was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Everything hurts. All of it. You name it, it hurts.
Time to go to bed.
Time to go to bed.